All right, let's get into it. Today, we're digging into a pretty startling commentary that makes a huge claim that a secret government program called Arctic Frost exists. So we're going to break down this argument piece by piece to really understand what's being alleged here and, why it's got people talking. So, the big question right off the bat, what exactly is Arctic frost? And no, we're not talking about a polar vortex here. The source we're examining claims it's actually the code name for a secret and, well, a deeply controversial government operation. Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll hit the main claim. Then we'll get into the alleged method they used, something called the Hop Rule. After that, we'll look at who was supposedly targeted, how normal political actions were allegedly twisted into crimes, and finally, what the source thinks should be done about all of it. All right, let's dive right into part one, the central claim. We need to start with the absolute basics. What does this commentary say Arctic frost even is? So according to the source material we're looking at, Arctic frost is the name given to this massive, widespread investigation run by the FBI and the DOJ. And here's the key part of the claim, that it was laser-focused on individuals and groups connected with the MAGA movement. And wow, the language the source uses is something else. This quote right here, it's pretty much the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. The key thing to catch here is that the accusation isn't about a few bad apples. The claim is that the entire system, top to bottom, is corrupt. Okay, so that's the what. But what about the how? How does the source claim this was all carried out? Well, it all comes down to one specific technique they call the Hop Rule. So what in the world is the Hop Rule? According to this commentary, think of it like this. It's a way to map out an entire social or political network. You don't just go after one person. You start with someone influential, get their records through subpoenas, and then you hop to everyone they've ever talked to or worked with. Yeah, this breaks it down really simply. Step 1, you pick your main targets, what the source calls influential centers. Step 2, you hit them with subpoenas for everything, phone records, emails, bank statements, you name it. And then, step 3, you use all that data to connect the dots and see who's connected to whom. It's like building a giant spider web, pulling more and more people in. And that idea of a web brings us right to the next point, the sheer scale of this alleged operation. We're not talking about a small, localized thing here. The commentary is arguing this was a massive, nationwide effort with a huge list of targets. And just look at this list of alleged targets. It's all over the place. We're talking U.S. senators and congressmen, media personalities, entire organizations, and then it goes all the way down to the lawyers representing them, people who donated, and local activists. The source claims the net was just cast incredibly wide. And the scale isn't just about who was targeted, but who was doing the targeting. The claim here is that every single FBI office in the entire country was on board with this. Full buy-in, from the highest levels in D.C. all the way down to your local field office. And this is maybe one of the most stunning claims in the entire commentary. You have all these agents, right? Thousands of them, supposedly involved. So how many of them, according to the source, said, hey, wait a minute, this isn't right, and filed a protest? The number is 0. Not a single one. And this is presented as proof that everyone was in lockstep. Okay, now we're getting to what is probably the most explosive accusation of all. This is the part where the source claims that normal, everyday political activity, things that are legally protected, were being systematically twisted and relabeled as serious federal crimes. Just look at this table. It really lays out the accusation clearly. On the left, you have what seems like standard political stuff, right? Donating to a candidate, filing a lawsuit. But on the right, you see how the source claims the FBI was interpreting these actions as mail fraud, as conspiracy. So the argument isn't that people didn't do these things, it's that the meaning of these actions was completely reframed. So when you see it laid out like that, this next quote starts to make a lot more sense. The source isn't just calling this a mistake or an overreach, they're calling it, and I'm quoting here, the most systematic, systemic, outrageous violation of federally protected civil rights ever. Really, really strong words. Okay, so after laying out this whole story of what allegedly went wrong, the commentary switches gears. It's not just about pointing out a problem anymore, it's about solutions. And that means calling out specific people and proposing some pretty drastic fixes. And the source does not pull any punches. It names names. It points to several public figures who, in its view, completely dropped the ball. The criticisms are all a bit different. Some are accused of not sharing what they knew, others of getting the analysis wrong, and some even for promoting people who were allegedly part of the problem.
And you can see that contrast right here. The source creates this very clear divide. On one side, you have the heroes of the story, people like Senator Grassley, Representative Jordan, and especially the FBI whistleblowers who supposedly brought all this out. And on the other side, well, that's the list of people accused of inaction or misdirection. So what's the solution, according to the source? It's pretty sweeping. Step 1, mass firings. Anyone in a position of authority who signed off on this and didn't object, they're out. Step 2, get local and state prosecutors involved to start bringing charges, since the federal level is seen as compromised. And step 3, the big one, indict about 500 FBI agents. The goal, in their own words, is to send a message. And that's pretty much the whole story as laid out in the commentary. This narrative about Arctic frost, it's more than just a series of accusations. It's really a story about a total breakdown of trust and a demand for radical change. And it leaves us with a really big question to think about, one that goes way beyond this specific case. When people lose faith in major institutions, what does real, effective reform even look like? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining me for this breakdown.